Hello, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm Rachel, and I am making, I don't know why I just clapped, but I think I am excited, the shawarma chicken thighs from Trader Joe's. I'm going to turn this into a dinner. It is now 6:20. A little late for dinner, I know, but it's a Wednesday night. They tend to be late nights for us. But I'm going to show just how quickly I can throw this together. So I have the grill heating up, and I put the rice on to cook. Those are the only two things that I've done. Well, okay, three things, if I'm being honest, that I've done so far. The rice, I did 1.5 cups of rice to 3 cups of water. It's Basmati. You can use jasmine rice or really any longer grain rice I would recommend. The other thing I did was this is homemade yogurt. You can use store-bought yogurt. Just plain yogurt. I have a video if you want to see how to make some homemade yogurt. The only thing I did was before I made the rice, so about less than 10 minutes ago, I just put it into a strainer. It's not going to get as thick as a Greek yogurt, but just to at least start getting some of that liquid out of it. I actually don't mind if my yogurt sauce is a little bit runnier. This is not spicy, I would say, by any means. I don't even know. I mean, it's red, but that's not from, I mean, it just says spices, but I wouldn't consider this spicy. My children eat it just fine. I actually just like the flavor of the yogurt with the rice and with the chicken. And then the other thing that I'm making to go with it is a Shirazi salad. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe it is a Persian salad. I will say mine's probably inspired. I'm not going to claim for it to be entirely accurate. But it recommends you using Roma, but I have these cherry tomatoes that honestly I'm not too impressed with. So it'll be nice to be able to use them up in something that has a lot of flavor. So this salad, I think for them, I'm going to cut them into 8. So I'm going to quarter and then cut all of those quarters in halves. So ending up with a piece about that size. If they're really tiny cherry tomatoes, you can cut it smaller. You can use almost any tomato. You probably just want it to be a little less runny. Again, I'm actually just going to leave the liquid. They do recommend putting this over a colander. I don't mind this particular salad. I actually like a little extra liquid. So this is a really unique salad, and I love how refreshing it is, and I love the fact that it uses green bell pepper. This pepper doesn't get enough love, and the flavor really goes well. The green bell pepper, tomato, a kind of an English or a hothouse cucumber or Persian cucumbers, some fresh herbs if you have it. I picked some curly leaf parsley and flat leaf parsley. I don't have any cilantro. I thought I did, but I'm not sure what happened to those little plants. Go through and cut the rest of these and I'll check back in. So we have the tomato in there. The next thing I'm going to put is about half of an onion. Didn't cut it perfectly in half. I'm going to go with a larger half. You can use red onion or just a yellow onion here. I don't know where my scrap bowl for our chickens got to. I'll just put everything to the side for now. Onions destroy me. I probably should have cut this before trying to film this. So I'm just going to be quiet during this part because I will cry. Surprisingly, I'm not bawling just yet. Let me grab a spoon. All right, well, I'll just cut everything. So I'm prepping both the yogurt sauce and the Shirazi salad before cooking the chicken because I want to give it time to marinate. This salad is probably even better. Oh, now my eyes are starting to water. Probably even better if you were to do it hours ahead, just allowing all those flavors to meld, especially since you're using that dried mint. The longer you can allow that to kind of rehydrate and infuse into the rest of the salad, even better. But I don't have the luxury of time tonight. So I figure trying to get it going as fast as possible so that I can get it marinating at least for a little while. So as you can see, I'm just trying to cut this into decently small cubes. I'm gonna try, and though the tomato is shaped differently, overall it's about the same size. And then the bell pepper, I'm gonna also try to cut around the same size. And that's something when you're making a salad like this where you're chopping the ingredients, it actually makes a really big difference. Everything being a similar size, so when you eat it, you're able to taste all of those different vegetables at the same level. If you have things chopped up really tiny, when you scoop, you're either going to get more of them and less of the big thing, or more of the big things, less of the small things. It just can kind of throw off that balance. It calls for half of a bell pepper. I'm just going to do about 3/4. That other section I love, so I don't need a lot of green bell pepper. I use it to make chili. I use it in this, and then I like to eat it with cottage cheese. Just cut in half, fill it with cottage cheese, sprinkle a little salt and pepper on top. That's something I remember having growing up, and every once in a while I go through a phase where I'm just craving that. Excuse my kids in the background. There we have it. We have tomato, onion, cucumber, and green bell pepper. To this, I'm gonna go ahead and do the citrus first and the salt. Then I'll come back in with the herbs. No, I'll say that one's gone. I might replace it with some vinegar. It looks a little weird on the outside, so I might just do a little bit of white wine vinegar. It doesn't have quite the same bite as a red wine vinegar. Yeah, this also is not a very juicy lime. Didn't think to pick up limes when I was at the store. They're not something I tend to keep on hand. And I'm also out of lemons. Okay. With that, we're gonna shoot for about a teaspoon of salt to begin with. With this amount of herbs, you can kind of get away with less salt, especially with the vinegar, lemon juice, lime juice as well. I said juice of 2 limes, so I'm going to do 2 of those because I didn't get much juice out of those limes. And then it called for 3 tablespoons of olive oil, but before I do that, it calls for a tablespoon of loose peppermint. So I'm going to go ahead and add that so I can just use the same measuring spoon for the olive oil. This is an extra virgin olive oil. It's one I get, I think it's the Bertolli I get from the store. I just keep a smaller amount on my counter in this little jar. Okay. Get that mixed so that can all start to work, and then I'll chop up these fresh herbs and get that added in. Now, I actually am a fan of stems. I think that it's something interesting. If you look at other cuisines, some of them intentionally use stems from the herbs, especially parsley, cilantro. And they carry with them a very strong flavor. I will say that bottom part, these are huge. I mean, this parsley is loving its life. So I said that these from the curly leaf, there's my bin. The curly leaf parsley, I'm not going to use the stems from, but I will use it from this, and I'm going to use the ones further up. I'm just going to chop very tiny. And I actually really like the stem in the salad because it's so crunchy. It does soften, but it retains some of that crunch, and it carries with it a ton of flavor. So especially when you're cooking, if I'm making a curry or something like that, I always chop the stems in because it carries with it a lot of flavor. You'd be surprised how much flavor you get out of the stems that we normally, at least most people that I've seen in most recipes that I've seen, have you throw away. worried about making it too perfectly fine. Just gonna mix this up. And so I am not going to season it anymore at this point because, as I said, I want it to marinate a little bit. I want those herbs to do their job. I have enough vinegar and salt in there to help pull the flavor out of the vegetables. So I'm just gonna leave that for now. Put this to the side. And now I'm going to get to work on the cucumber. So before I bring that over, I'm going to grate, and actually before I grate, I'm gonna chop. I'm trying to think of like most messy. So the cucumber is definitely more messy than the garlic. So I wanna chop up the garlic, get that in the bowl before I grate, because I'm just gonna grate the cucumber onto this countertop. And I'm sorry, I know this is very messy. I wish I had found here. Let me just clean this up. I don't want anyone stressing about me having a messy counter. You know, I'll be honest, my counters are usually messy when I cook, if I'm being realistic. There we go. All right, so we have 1, and then 2. I'm not going with too much garlic. I don't want this to be a garlic heavy sauce, at least not for today. Okay, just gonna chop out that little bad section. I probably could have just put this through our garlic press just as easily, but I kind of forget that we have one. We didn't have a good one for a very long time, and so I never used it. I'm just trying to get this small enough. I am not trying to get this into a paste. Again, trying to remind myself that this is a weeknight. It's getting late. I'm trying to sit down and have dinner at least before 7 o'clock, preferably before 6:30, but obviously that's not happening. All right, now let me go ahead and grate. And the good thing is I actually don't mind these herbs because I'm going to be adding a few. Probably should have kept some of the fresh herbs. I'm not sacrificing my fingers. So that last little bit. All I'm going to do is squeeze out some of the liquid. Again, that's why I just left it on the cutting board. Intentionally scooping up some of those herbs with it. I can get them in there. And now the yogurt, and as you can see, it's not substantial, but it's a couple of tablespoons worth that came out. As it is, the yogurt that I make is pretty thick. Not from straining, but just I culture it for 24 hours, so it results in a slightly thicker yogurt. I'm gonna put half a teaspoon of salt, have half of a lemon that I was keeping for this, which is why I didn't want to use it in the salad. Go. Ah, see? Normally have a garlic, a lemon, a juicer. I could not find it. There is a better way to do this, I know, okay? The right way is you squeeze it upright, or you squeeze it through your hands and you catch it, but that's okay. All right, fresh pepper. And I like dried oregano. And you know, just like with the dried mint, the dried oregano, in my opinion, gives a slightly different flavor, and I actually like the bite of the dried oregano, but feel free to add fresh herbs. I also like to put some dried parsley. So I didn't really do measurements, I apologize. So that was, this is about a cup of yogurt, a teaspoon of salt, 1 small Persian cucumber minus the amount that I ate when I didn't want to chop my fingers off. Less than an eighth of a teaspoon, really just a sprinkle of pepper. And then less than 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, and less than 1/2 teaspoon of parsley. And there we go. It's just a simple, I'm gonna let that sit and marinate. Oh, and 2 garlic cloves, but really 1 large garlic clove. So that should be good to go. I'm gonna let both of these marinate, and I'm gonna go cook the chicken. So this pack of the shawarma chicken came to just over 1.5 pounds, and it's 4 thighs, but that one is very large. On a medium-high grill, it only takes about 7 to 10 minutes. It's in about 6, so I flipped them, and I'm just gonna cook them for a couple minutes more. I'll probably take off, that one's the thinnest, and then I will show you how I prep them for dinner. Here you have it, the chicken is done. So I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. I love basmati rice for this type of dish. I usually use jasmine rice, that's kind of my go-to rice, but basmati for this, I'm just gonna fluff that a little bit. Okay, so as I said earlier, I wanted to let this marinate a little bit. It will by tomorrow, there'll be more liquid down in there. But just for today, let me test it. Tiny bit more salt. It's good on the sour. Okay, let's check this. Okay, and I would say that this is perfect. It's not too sour, just a nice, refreshing, creamy. My way of serving this chicken is chop it up with scissors. Scissors are one of the best tools in the kitchen. And I found that this makes it a lot easier for us to portion. We have 2 younger children, and I find that doing it this way, 1, allows us all to maybe just get exactly how much we want instead of having to pick between a huge thigh, a small thigh, and helps us balance it with enough veggies. So I'm not trying to be too dainty. I'm just trying to get it that we can grab some pieces. This chicken, I'm very impressed with. I don't buy a lot of pre-seasoned meats. 1, I mean, you're paying a premium per pound, but I got it once because on the weekends, we cook a lot at home, and on the weekends, sometimes we just want something different. So I picked it up once at Trader Joe's, and I was honestly impressed with the flavor, the texture. I love the fact that it's chicken thighs, not breast. I'm not a big fan of chicken breast, especially cooked in this manner. So the chicken thighs just allows it to be much more tender. I love the fact that I can just pop it on the grill. And really it is, so I started this at 6:20. It's 6:56, and that's with filming and having to do all the extras. So we have the chicken there, the salad. So I'm just going to plate up about what we would eat. Start with the salad. I like a good bit of that. Going to go with some chicken. Probably not that much. Smells good. Okay, and we have rice. And then the last thing I'm going to do is, I like to eat the rice with the yogurt sauce. And there we have it. So we have the salad, the chicken, the rice, the yogurt sauce, and they go so well together. I love the flavor combination, the textures. I'm just gonna get a little bite of everything.